Hi, I'm JP Willett, mediator, conflict coach, and family specialist here. Judges, pastors, therapists, and other professionals refer clients to me in some of the toughest parts of their life to help them transform conflict into opportunities for great results. This is the third in a series of 5 videos where I'm walking you through how I help my clients transform the inevitable bumps of life into opportunities. In the first video, we answered the burning question, why is it so hard to have real conversations about important things? In the second video, we talked about how to identify and clearly communicate what it is that you really want without feeling selfish or petty. If you missed either of those videos, I highly encourage you to check them out so that you can walk through the steps necessary to transform your situation into an opportunity for good results. I also hope you got a chance to download my quick guide to getting your head straight in conflict, as it's going to set you up for even greater success for those videos, this videos, and the one to come. So by now, you're clear on what you want and why it's important to you. And I want to, in this video, talk about how to get the other person to actually hear what's important to you. Because you can talk about it all you want, and you can share your ideas, and you can even pour out your heart. But if the other person isn't listening, it's not happening. And you've wasted all that time and energy, and you've translated this into another difficult situation that didn't work out very well. That's not going to be you, though. But here's the kicker. The reason they can't hear what's important to you right now is because all they can hear and think about is what's important to them. I like to think about it as a motorcycle helmet, and it's full of bees, which for most of us is a very disturbing image, and I apologize for that, but I think it's a great image for what I'm going to illustrate. All these bees represent the things that they're upset about, and what they're upset about are the things that you've done, or the things that they've interpreted as your fault, the things that they want you to address. So as long as all they can hear is the buzzing and all they can feel is the biting and the nagging of these bees in their helmet, they can't see you, they can't hear you, they can't even think about you without feeling frustrated. Does that sound familiar? Maybe you feel that way toward the other person. So how do we lift that lid? How do we get the bees to fly out so that they can see clearly, so they can think clearly, and so that they can hear clearly? We have to address what's important to them. And in order to do that, you're going to have to own your part in the situation. Now you're saying possibly, I haven't done anything wrong. It's all a matter of perception. Right now you're dealing with their reality. Chances are you have done maybe a little something wrong. Maybe you haven't done anything wrong. Maybe your part is only 10% of the reason that you're in conflict. But can you own 100% of that 10%? I promise you that if you do, it will make great changes in the way this turns around. So here are some things I want you to think about, and I want you, again, I'm going to keep saying this, but I want you to write them down. Writing them down engages the best parts of your brain. The first question is, how have you contributed to the tension in this relationship? Think about your attitudes and your actions toward the other person. What impact have they had on the other person and on this relationship? What impact have they had on the situation as a whole? Next, think about those attitudes and actions, and how do they align with the values that you identified in the last video? Those values that were most important to you, that you hope other people see in you in the ways you relate to others. Have your attitudes and actions been in line with that? Have they communicated how important those values are to you in the way you relate to others? Now here's a tough one. If you're like me, in the midst of conflict, it's easy to have conversations in your head with the other person. It's a very convenient way to resolve things. You have the conversation with them, and surprisingly, they act just like you thought they would act. They're just as much of an idiot or a jerk or an uncaring person as you expected them to be in your head. So as you carry out this conversation, you're really not surprised they act just like you thought they would. Is that really fair to the other person? Based on the conversations we've had in our head, we've already made assumptions about them and their motives. We've actually cast judgments on them based on words and actions that were in our heads, but maybe they haven't even committed yet, or they haven't even said yet. I don't know if that's real fair to them. It wouldn't be fair to us. Think about that. What are the conversations you've had in your head, and what are the conclusions you've come to that may not be true or may not be fair until you at least ask those questions? And how has that impacted your attitudes and actions? And how has that impacted the other person? And finally, how have all these things gotten you closer to that best case scenario that you told me about in the first video? What was that best case scenario, that thing that would just be, if it worked out this way, it would be great? How have your attitudes and actions gotten you closer to that? So when you've thought through these things, maybe you've determined that there's an apology necessary. Maybe not, but in most cases, it never hurts. So if you want to do this well, I recommend you download my quick guide to an effective apology. It'll walk you through the things that you really need to know when you're going to say, I'm sorry. So now that you've finished the first 3 videos and you've come up with lots of great ideas, you're going to want to run to the other person you're in conflict with and share your answers, and everything's going to be great and marvelous. Maybe. Just like the warning I gave in the last video. This might work for you, it might not. I've got a couple more videos I want you to watch so you can effectively walk through how to set this up for success. In my next video, we're going to talk about how to actually have that conversation in such a way that works out really well. My clients all tell me that this is the best part of the coaching process, and it really is. So again, if you want to prep for that by making an apology, download the quick guide to making an effective apology. Easy for me to say, right? Download that guide. It's really going to help you answer the question, why is it that I'm sorry doesn't always cut it? And how do I fix that? How do I say something that's actually going to make a difference? Download the guide. Join me on the next video. I can't wait to see you there.